Hello everyone, and welcome back once more to an Anime Villainous how-to video. I am still Chaos in the Sky, and today I'll be showing you how to play as Isabella from The Promised Neverland in Anime Villainous. Isabella is the mother of the Gracefield House Orphanage, making her the primary caretaker and guardian of all the orphans. She loves and watches over the many children of her orphanage, ensuring that they grow into the best they can be. However, this is merely a facade that Isabella puts on. In actuality, the orphanage is just a front for a human farm, run by demons who want to cultivate intelligent humans as a food source. With these demons pulling the strings, Isabella prepares children to be shipped out to their deaths. Despite knowing this, Isabella takes the role of a loving mother, even though the children she fools will meet a grisly fate. Isabella's job is to prepare the children of her orphanage to be sent off to demons for sustenance, which in Anime Villainous translates to an objective of putting heroes totaling 8 or more strength into the harvest pile. Before we get into how you'll be putting heroes into the harvest pile, though, we're going to talk about Isabellas Ability, because it's a pretty complex one. Isabellas Ability is that when you would play a card from your hand, you may instead set it aside face down for free, then place 1 to 5 schedule tokens on it. Now, just looking at it, this ability alone doesn't make a lot of sense. What's the purpose of setting a card face down and putting tokens on it? The answer can be found on Isabella's unique Day and Night tile, a tile that affects the game similarly to a villain ability. Each turn before Isabella moves, you flip the tile from day to night, or vice versa, depending on which side is currently face up. Once you flip the tile, you remove 1 schedule token from each face down card. If any of those cards no longer have tokens, you reveal those cards. After a face down card has been revealed this way, you choose any number of them, pay their costs, and play them. Any cards you don't choose are simply discarded. So this is how Isabella's ability works, which we usually refer to as scheduling. By setting cards aside and putting schedule tokens on them, you can schedule them to be played 1 to 5 turns later. There are a few very important things to note about this process. First of all, you must flip the day and night tile at the start of every single turn before Isabella moves. It is non-optional. There are also no cards that can flip it or stop it from being flipped. It will happen just once at the start of every one of Isabella's turns. When you start a game as Isabella, the tile will start on the night side. When you take your very first turn, you flip it to day, and it will be day for your first turn. From there on, every odd number turn as Isabella will be day, and every even numbered turn will be night. This is very important for a handful of Isabella's cards. Secondly, if any face-down cards run out of tokens and you then choose to play them, you must play and resolve them before Isabella moves. So you would pay the cost for and play those cards without moving Isabella, and after they've been resolved, you then move to your new location and take the rest of your turn. Lastly, Isabella's face-down cards are not public information. When playing as Isabella, you are allowed to look at your face-down cards whenever you like, but your opponents cannot look at them. Now that you hopefully understand how Isabella's scheduling gimmick works, let's get into how you actually achieve your objective. We have to get heroes with a total of 8 strength or more into the harvest pile. The first step to accomplishing this is one of Isabella's items, Demon List. Demon List is an activatable item with a small caveat. When you activate it, you have to pay 2 power for each former hero in your territory. After doing so, you reveal cards from the top of your fate deck until you reveal a hero. You then play that hero, but they become an ally at the bottom of your territory. Any fate cards revealed that weren't heroes get discarded. Couple of things to note here. As we'll see in a moment, you can only get heroes into the harvest pile if you first make them into allies. The only way for a hero to end up as an ally, however, is the Demon List. This means that you must use Demon List to complete your objective. Getting it in place should be your first priority when playing as Isabella. Another thing to keep in mind is Demon List's cost. It's free to activate if you have no former heroes in your territory, which basically just means heroes turned ally by Demon List. But if you try to turn a bunch of heroes into allies, it'll start to get very expensive very fast. You'll probably want to just get 1 or 2 of them and then focus on getting them into the harvest pile instead of repeatedly using Demon List. To do that though, you need to know how to put them into the harvest pile, which is what we'll talk about now. There are only 2 cards that can get heroes into the harvest pile, which are Vita and the aptly named Harvest. Let's start with Vita, which is another activatable item. When you activate Vita, you have to pay 3 power. Once you do, you then choose a 0 strength ally at the gate, which is Isabella's rightmost location. Put them into the harvest pile, and then you discard Vita. It's quite expensive since it costs 1 power to play Vita and then 3 more to activate it, but getting heroes in the harvest pile is your entire objective, so it'll typically be worth it. Harvest, meanwhile, is a bit of a cheaper option, but with its own caveats. It only costs 2 to play, and no need for an activate, but in exchange you can only play Harvest if it is currently night, as seen on the day and night tile. When you do play Harvest, you can either defeat a hero, or you can choose a 0 strength ally at the gate and put them into the harvest pile. As you can see, Vita and Harvest both have 2 restrictions in common. They can only target an ally that has 0 strength, and they can only target that ally if they are at the gate, Isabella's rightmost location. This is why the demon list is necessary, because there is no other way to have a hero be an ally, and you need the hero to be an ally first to get them into the harvest pile. But you also have to have that hero turned ally be at 0 strength. So let's look at the cards Isabella has that can help her do that, starting with these 3 effects. Up first is Bedtime. If it is night when you play Bedtime, each hero and former hero at Gracefield House loses 3 strength. Gracefield House is the leftmost location in Isabella's territory. Next is Free Time, which you would play when it's day. Once you do, each hero and former hero at Grassy Field loses 2 strength. Grassy Field is the middle left location in Isabella's territory. The third effect, which you may be seeing a theme by now, is Playing Tag. This one is also set for day, and it has each hero and former hero at the Small Forest, which is Isabella's middle right location, lose 1 strength. So you can tell these 3 effects are quite similar. They needed to be either day or night specifically, they target both heroes and former heroes, and they are location based on who they target. You may have also clued in on how the further left the location it targets is, the more strength loss it causes. If we look back at Isabella's territory and all the cards we've seen so far, you can probably figure out why. The further away from the rightmost location, that is, the gate, a hero or former hero is, the more strength they're likely to lose. However, since you can only put an ally into the harvest pile if they're at the gate, that means the further they are from it, the more you'll have to move them to be able to finally harvest. The positioning of your heroes turned allies will be very important, so always keep it in mind. However, not all strength reduction options are limited to specific locations. There are 2 other strong effects Isabella has that can lower strength, and those are Family Dinner and Litany Test. Family Dinner is a nighttime card, and it lets you choose a hero or former hero in your territory. After doing so, that target then loses an amount of strength equal to the number of heroes and former heroes at their location, including the chosen character themselves. Depending on how many heroes have been played against you, or if you've gotten out a few with Demon List, this can be ideal to finish weakening a hero or get a big jump in lowering their strength. Litany Test, unlike Family Dinner, is a daytime card. It also lets you choose a hero or former hero in your territory, and once you do, they lose an amount of strength equal to the number of face-down cards. Whether you've scheduled a lot of cards and want to weaken a hero fast, or you've scheduled 1 or 2 and just need a little bit more to get a former hero ready for harvesting, Litany Test rewards you for using Isabella's schedule gimmick in a great way. Those are all of the effects that lower strength, but there are 3 more effects in Isabella's deck that help you in other ways. We have its Time to Go, which lets you perform up to 2 move and item or ally actions. As mentioned, all of your heroes turned allies need to end up at the gate to be harvested, so this extra movement will go a long way in helping with that. Then there's They Know, which lets you choose a card from your deck, set it aside face down for free, and place 1 to 5 schedule tokens on it, then shuffling your deck. This is one of 2 cards that let you schedule cards without using Isabellas Ability, and it's a major asset in getting cards that shuffled low in your deck quickly, like Demon List. The last effect Isabella has is Daily Report, which lets you choose a character at a location other than Isabella's, and then perform 1 available non-fate action at that character's location. A great way to get more variety in your actions, especially the more heroes and allies you have about. One thing important to note about Daily Report, though, is if you schedule it. Keep in mind that you can only perform an action in your territory once per turn unless a card says otherwise. If you were to use a scheduled Daily Report to gain 3 power at the gate, then moved to the gate in that same turn, you would not be able to gain 3 power again. By now you may be wondering, does Isabella have any actual allies, or just the heroes that she turns into allies via Demon List? She does indeed, 2 of them in fact, who we'll look at now. First is Grandmother Sarah. If Isabella is at Grandmother Sarah's location, the cost to play set-aside cards is reduced by 1 power. It's very important to remember how playing set-aside cards works to understand this ability. You play the set-aside cards before moving at the start of your turn, so you should try to end your turn at Grandmother Sarah's location when you want your next turn's schedule cards to be cheaper. Second is Sister Crone. After Sister Crone is moved by Isabella, you may perform a vanquish action using her. However, Sister Crone is not discarded when she is used to defeat a hero with one or more strength tokens on them, which we've seen Isabella is very capable of weakening heroes. Isabella has no vanquish actions, so aside from clashing and playing Harvest, Sister Crone is going to be your main strategy for dealing with pesky heroes. After her allies, Isabella has 2 more items in her deck that both attach to her, Bell and Radar. Bell is an item that you have to pay 1 power to activate, and upon doing so, you can choose a card from the discard pile and put it into your hand. Very useful to get a hold of important cards like Harvest or specific strength reducers. Radar, meanwhile, is also activatable and lets Isabella move a hero that has 1 or more strength tokens, or an ally of any kind, to an adjacent location. Movement is very valuable for Isabella since her heroes turned allies have to get to the gate, and Crone has to move to perform vanquishes, so Radar can be a huge help. Next on our villain deck agenda are Isabella's 3 schemes: Premium Farm, Caring Mother, and Tifari Offerings. Premium Farm triggers when the targeted player discards an ally or hero with a strength of 2 or less from their territory. Once triggered, Isabella then gains 2 power. Nothing overly fancy, but Isabella loves some spare power to potentially throw at Demon List or other expensive cards. Our next scheme, Caring Mother, triggers when the targeted player moves to a location that has 2 or more other characters. Once triggered, Isabella chooses a hero or former hero in her territory. That targeted character then loses 1 strength. This is great to help Isabella finish weakening a former hero for the gate, or to get a strength token on a hero so Crone can vanquish them without being discarded. The last scheme is Tifari Offerings, which triggers when the targeted player draws 3 or more cards. Once triggered, Isabella may set up to 2 cards from her hand aside face down for free, and place 1 to 5 schedule tokens on them. This is the only card aside from They Know that lets you schedule cards outside of Isabellas Ability, and essentially gives her 2 extra play cards, which can help a lot with her planning or litany test. Isabella's final card is her only form, True Colors. With True Colors in play, Isabella gets a strength of 5, enough to clash with any hero in her Fate deck. However, in exchange for this high strength, characters cannot lose strength in any way. This means that Isabella will be unable to weaken heroes turned allies, and thus cannot complete her objective. However, True Colors does have another useful ability. When Isabella moves during your turn, you must either immediately clash with a hero at your new location, or discard True Colors. This makes True Colors a great way to clean up your territory if it got flooded with heroes, and it's easy to discard so that you can start weakening heroes or former heroes again. We've talked a lot about these heroes, both turning them into allies and also weakening them, so let's finally take a look at Isabella's opposition. There are 4 3-strength heroes and 3 5-strength heroes. Since you need to have 8 total strength in the harvest pile, that'll mean either harvesting 3 of the 3-strength heroes, or 1 of the 5-strength heroes plus any other hero. Let's start with 2 of the 3-strength heroes, Connie and Phil. When Connie is played or moved by an opponent, they move Isabella to any location. As you can imagine, this can really throw off Isabella as it messes with what location she can go to on her following turn, or take her away from Grandmother Sarah right before scheduled cards are played. Next is Phil, who when played or moved by an opponent, allows that opponent to move a hero to Phil's new location. All of the heroes have this played or moved by an opponent wording, which means Phil will end up triggering another hero's ability whenever his goes off. Something else important to notice about this wording is that these heroes will still have their abilities even if you turn them into allies. Phil's ability can't move a hero turned ally because it says it can only move a hero, and a hero played by Demon List is now an ally instead. But any ability that can move allies will still trigger a former hero's ability. Make sure to remember that the wording here also says by an opponent, so Isabella cannot use the abilities of heroes when she moves them, even if she's turned them into allies with Demon List. Let's get an example of this with the next 2 heroes, Gilda and Dawn. Gilda is the one we want to look at, as her ability is that when she's played or moved by an opponent, they move an ally at a location other than Gilda's to an adjacent location. This can target Sister Crone or Grandmother Sarah, but it can also target a hero turned ally by Demon List. When Gilda moves that hero turned ally, their ability will trigger because it is an opponent that's moving them. So it's important when playing as Isabella to remember that whatever hero you've turned into an ally with Demon List, their ability can still cause you some major headaches. Moving on from that, we've got Dawn, who when played or moved by an opponent makes Isabella lose 2 power. Thanks to scheduling, Isabella likes to have plenty of power on hand to make big plays with her scheduled cards, so this can be very disruptive to her planning. That's all 4 3-strength heroes. So now we get to look at the Gracefield House's premium goods, the 5-strength heroes Emma, Ray, and Norman. When Norman is played or moved by an opponent, that opponent may discard a face-down card. This is, as you can imagine, very damaging to Isabella, who likes to plan out turns with scheduled tokens and have cards played on the turns she likes. It can also be especially damaging if it discards a face-down card that you really needed, like Demon List. After Norman is Ray, who when played or moved by an opponent lets that opponent choose an item with a cost of 1 or less at Ray's new location and shuffle it into Isabella's deck. Thankfully, Demon List is a cost of 2, so Ray can't target it, but Isabella's other important items, being Radar, Bell, and Vita, can all be targeted by Ray. Remember that Radar and Bell are counted as being at Isabella's location when attached to her. Our final hero is the protagonist herself, Emma. When Emma is played or moved by an opponent, they may remove up to 2 strength tokens from another character at Emma's new location. This makes Emma potentially one of the most frustrating heroes, as she heavily sets back your progress on getting heroes into the harvest pile. She's one that you'll want to deal with quickly, whether she's a hero or an ally. That's all the heroes covered, so now we'll take a look at the 3 effect cards in Isabella's Fate deck. First is Prison Break, which lets the one playing it choose a hero or former hero. If that chosen character has a strength of 1 or more, you may move them to any location. Luckily for Isabella, if she gets a hero or former hero to 0 strength, this card can't affect them, but with even just 1 strength, they can be moved out of place and trigger their abilities. Secondly, we have Insider's Knowledge. This causes Isabella to lose 2 power, and it also lets the one playing it place 1 schedule token onto a face-down card. That may not seem like much, but it can potentially be catastrophic for Isabella if that face-down card specifically has to be played during either night or day, or it would just throw off her strategy in general. Thirdly is Mom is an Enemy. What a card name. When played, it lets the one playing it either discard a former hero with no strength tokens from Isabella's territory, or remove up to 2 strength tokens from a character. This card is both a way to set back some progress on your strength reduction, and it also acts as a potential punishment for taking too long to reduce strength or trying to overuse Demon List. The last card to look at is, of course, the Challenge, which is Fire. While Fire is in play, opponents can look at the face-down cards in Isabella's territory at any time. This can be rough for Isabella, as it means her opponents don't have to guess at what she's planning and can know exactly which cards they want to target with Norman or Insider's Knowledge. To get rid of Fire, Isabella will have to progress her objective and put a hero into the harvest pile, which then discards Fire. This means Isabella doesn't have to go out of her way to get rid of her challenge, but it will be a major nuisance until she can, since the mystery of her face-down cards is one of her biggest strengths. So that's all you need to know for how to play as Isabella. A seemingly kind mother with horrific intentions, you'll have to turn heroes into allies and utilize scheduling well to ship them off to their unfortunate destinies with the demons. If you have any questions about Isabella, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. Also, look at the description for the playlist to see all the other Anime Villainous how-to videos so you can learn about any other characters that interest you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again for more Anime Villainous videos in the future. Until then, farewell.